y'all, it's Ejanae.
And it's Kimberly,
and welcome to Season 1 of Sonder Session Studio. This is where deep thoughts meet real laughs, hard feelings meet open arms, and life just gets to be life.
We ask questions, we stretch thinking, and we sit with nuance. We will feel, laugh, and learn together.
So let's sit back, relax, and get into it.
Hello, guys. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about ethical consumption and is there ethical consumption under capitalism? This is a very big conversation as of late because, well, obviously there's Amazon fast fashion, Starbucks, and everything in between. And can we really ethically consume in today's world with capitalism in the mix? It's a hard question to answer, but we're here to talk about it, to discuss what our thoughts on it may be, how we can be better ethical consumers, and all the cool, cute things in between. Also, disclaimer, I look like this for a reason. I'm not dying, I'm not dead, I'm very much so alive, but I currently have been overly consumed by that of hay fever. Why? Because it is spring, allergy season is amongst, and as you can see, I have the worst of the worst. Yes, I'm on medication, do not ask me that question again. We're just here to suffer, and I've learned to accept it, so as will you. Let's get to this episode, and let's start with some definitions, because we talk and we throw all these things around, we throw all these words around. What do they actually mean?
So the first definition we're going to kick it off with is ethical consumption. Ethical consumption is defined as a form of political activism based on the premise that purchasers in markets consume not only goods, but also implicitly the process used to produce them. So think about people who are picking your grain, farming the land, packaging the products. Like, are they living under good conditions as well? Are they getting paid a fair wage while you are paying for the product that they basically are making?
Sweet. I'll read some of the other definitions out to y'all as well. Greenwashing. Greenwashing is the act or practice of making a product, policy, activity, etc. appear to be more environmentally friendly or less environmentally damaging than it really is. Think of Merriam-Webster.
A lot of companies end up doing that. They like to say, recycled materials, or like to use ambiguous green statements to make it seem like their company is doing real things while behind the scenes,
big fat liar,
like the blue guy. Exactly. The next definition is capitalism. We all know her, love her, hate her, whatever you feel. This is kind of hard to find like a really cohesive definition of capitalism. That's why I have no source. But I have an economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership of capital goods, by investments that are determined by private decision and by prices, production, and the distribution of goods that are determined mainly by a competition in a free market.
That's a
whole bunch of companies, they own their goods, they can price it how they want, produce it how they want, distribute it how they want, and they have competition in a free market. That's all it is, basically. Nothing too much.
There we go. Finally, last two. Boycotting. I think we all know a little bit about this, but for definition's sake, boycotting is collective and organized ostracism applied in labor, economic, political, or social relations to protest practices that are regarded as unfamiliar. And finally, selective consumerism. Fun. It's kind of in the name, selective consumerism. Anyway, the buying practice is driven by a commitment to making purchasing decisions that have a positive social, economic, and environmental impact.
Let's get into the nuances of ethical consumption.
Correct.
So first we have region, access, culture, geography, disabilities, etc. I think this is probably the most important nuance. I think more often than not, you hear people who are, quote unquote, not in a position to boycott or become an ethical consumer. I feel like they are the ones leading the complaints, which is valid. But I think as well is nobody's asking you to stop shopping at Target if that's the only grocery store you have within like a couple mile radius, you understand? But if you are buying maybe $200 worth of products from Target that are unethical, maybe go down to $150 per product. Like, nobody's asking a single mother of 5 to drive like 5 hours to Trader Joe's to get ethically produced products. But the issue is that I think a lot of people use their region and their access as an excuse to not try at all, because like trying could also be calling a representative. It could be signing a petition, going on strike, doing all these different things that you can't be more ethical consumer. But I think the average person is just more concerned about, I don't want to spend this money when I can get it for cheaper. But again, that's really not what we're talking about when it comes to this.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, it kind of sucks thinking about this too. I hate to bring up movies like Hunger Games and stuff like that. But, you know, when I always think of the radical change that I want to see in our society, it oftentimes costs. And it oftentimes requires not radical sacrifice, but I would say you kind of have to give what you take. Almost.
I think honestly it does require radical sacrifice.
Yeah, and I think you do have to give what you take. And I think that it's unfortunate because in one way, like you said, I do understand region and access, but the communities that would benefit most from us actually making a difference and actually thinking about the things that we consume, even if that means going an extra mile to buy something, or going, out of your way to buy something that is more ethically produced, or whatever the case may be. The impact of the communities that need this the most are also the communities that oftentimes cannot show up the most, which
Exactly.
is really, really unfortunate.
Exactly.
And when we think about this conversation, I think that's something that we need to think about a little bit. When it comes to radical change, it requires radical sacrifice, and or just kind of like, it can't be comfortable forever. And if we're too busy worrying about comfort, it's going to be hard to make the change necessary for us to all be comfortable.
Exactly. And on that topic, economic status and pricing complexities, we do understand that a lot of ethically produced products and goods do tend to be a little bit more expensive than their unethically produced counterparts, but sometimes we do need to make that sacrifice. I remember seeing a video, and this family was talking about, like, they were asking people for money, saying, oh, we need money, da 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 da, we can't do this, but they were spending like hundreds of dollars a month on like drugs and stuff like that. But it was like they were asking everybody else for money to help them, but it's like, when are you going to be like, okay, yes, I can make this financial sacrifice in order to live a better life? Because like she said, we all going to have radical sacrifices, radical change, and we're going to have to, regardless of our economic status. I know it's not fair on those who have less than others, or we expect people who have more to do more, but at the end of the day, like, that's not our reality, and we can't walk around every single day like waiting for someone to come and save you, basically.
And I think something that I got wrong in the past was I always kind of thought, well, because most people, don't either have the means or just won't be able to do what it is necessary to ethically consume, that we should just not partake in it in general. And I don't think that's the case. And I do think that little things can really move the needle in big ways. As someone who grew up in poverty, who kind of like didn't have the money to ethically consume. Of course, back then it wasn't really a huge conversation as a kid growing up. But thinking about now, if I were thinking about my mom and like what she had to do when she had to buy, like we were on food stamps and stuff like that. Obviously, my mom didn't have the facilities, nor did she have the mental space to be able to think about ethical consumption.
Yeah.
Which is a real reality for a lot of people, and which is why I think also too, not gonna lie, I think the middle class needs to step up a lot of it.
They
I
do.
do, and I know that's a controversial take, especially given, like, as of right now, I'm considered middle class, and I think I don't make a lot of money. I'm not realistically anywhere near where I want to be. I'm not gonna say that I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but I am one paycheck away from living paycheck
I'm fried.
to paycheck. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, I can step up more than poorer people can, and I think that, in order to make grand change for all of us that benefits, I do think that there are some people that need to step up more than others. And I think the people that are most inclined and most able to, not able, but most inclined would be the middle class. I wish the upper class would be. They the ones causing the problem, not going to lie. So.
Oh my gosh, yes. And this reminds me of, on the talking about government assistance and SNAP and stuff like that in the form of ethical consumption. There was a video that you actually sent me on TikTok, and the person who created the name is Lai Lovey. She spells it Lieluhvee, and it's titled Boycotting is a Privilege. And this is a quote from her video. And it said, we are engaging in selective consumerism. For it to become a boycott, there needs to be mutual aid provided to people who are underprivileged or who will be negatively affected by participating in this boycott, so that they can continue participating in this boycott. If that is not provided, this is not a boycott. And although I felt like that statement was very, it makes sense in retrospect when you think about it. Of course, the government should help out people who are underprivileged.
I want to note that I'm under the assumption that the creator means government assistance when she said mutual aid needs to be provided.
But then think about the way that our government let people who were on SNAP genuinely just go hungry for how many weeks, days, however long it was. I'm not sure, but it was like at least a month, if I'm not mistaken. And this was the month of Thanksgiving again, if I'm not mistaken. So although it's a great sentiment that people believe that our government should be there to help us, I think it's a detrimental mindset to have, because realistically, in what world is your government going to help you low-key boycott them? Like, they are part of the problem. Granted, it's corporations, but obviously they're governed by law at the end of the day. So I just think, I honestly think it's kind of not a cop-out statement, but we can't live on the philosophy that, again, someone is going to come and help us and save us. Like, if you want to boycott, if you want to be a better person, if you want to be an ethical consumer, this is really going to be something that you are going to want to do for yourself, and you're going to be willing to do the to get down in the mud and do what you really have to do to be an ethical consumer. Because at the end of the day, again, you're saying stuff. I'm not talking about the girls specifically, but like to have this type of mindset, I think is very interesting, especially if you're not somebody who's consistently calling your councilman, calling the senator, calling the governor, like saying all these things, like writing letters, doing petitions. Like if you are not honestly already actively conducting yourself in this way, I wouldn't say that this is any type of mindset to have, because at the end of the day, like imagine when they did the Montgomery bus boycott. You think the government was going to send them cars so that they couldn't take the bus? Does that make any sense? Like, in what world is that a reality?
Like a lot of the boycotts during the Civil War, they were backed by like either the NAACP or just larger institutions.
Yeah, like other yeah, that's fine.
Here's what I would say, and I think this is important to mention now as we continue the rest of this video when we're talking about politics and everything in between. There are two ways to look at the world. There is a way to look at the world in an imaginative sense where you wish the world would be one thing and you apply policy, you apply action, you apply everything in between in that worldview of what you wish the world would be like. And then there's how the world actually is, and applying these same principles of like policy, change, and everything in between to the actual world we live in. And I think a lot of times when we have conversations about politics and everything in between, we do it with this imaginative world that does not exist.
Yeah, and I think that's fair as well. Everybody's doing like this random fair world as well, which I think is very weird because we've never even seen Utopia.
Right, and it doesn't exist. And I think it's important when we are having these conversations about how to drive real change. The only way to drive real change is by having real conversations based off of the real systems that already exist.
Yeah,
not imaginative systems that you hope to exist. In order to get those imaginative systems, you need to create a system driving real change through real systems. So when it comes to having conversations about, oh, well, the idea is that we want to boycott and no one suffers in the process, so we should get help so that no one has to suffer in the process, so that we could boycott so that more people don't suffer in the process. Hey, hi, my name is Kimberly. Her name is Ejene. We live in the United States of America. There is not a planet on this world, there's no way in this world that we are going to get our government to freaking fund us to boycott.
We grew up on the phrase "no pain, no gain," baby. I don't know.
And B. Why would we need to fund a government to help us boycott when they could just change?
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't. Why would they help us when they're benefiting? They're not going to help you.
So I think it's important when we're having conversation about politics in general that we just be frank.
Yeah.
And the reality is that in order to drive real change, people are going to have to suffer in the process. And I hate to break it to you. There's a guy on TikTok. I absolutely love his videos. I forgot his name, but he's a guy that talks about revolutions that happen.
You just showed me?
No. Oh. He's a guy that talks about revolutions that happened throughout history. He goes over tons of different revolutions and how he is very, very, very anti-anarchy and anti-revolution. And the reason is because you will not be able to really conceptualize what is required to actually drive the change that you are looking to drive. And a lot of times you guys have this imaginative, like, oh, this is the Hunger Games type thing,
war,
of like
famine,
and it's
suffering.
Not even just that. I forgot which example he gave.
Recluse.
I forgot which example
Isolation.
He gave. But you know what I will say? The
anger.
The Tutsi and what's the other tribe? And Rwanda. There were two tribes in Rwanda that went through a civil war because of European influence.
Oh, girl, I don't remember that from African history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll use a different example. But basically what he said, just as a general example, was there was a specific group of people in Africa. I believe it was either Central or Western Africa.
I think it's in Rwanda.
Huh?
Rwanda?
No, I don't know exactly what example he used. I was just going to use my own.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't remember his, but because I also don't remember
type shit.
Whatever.
Type stuff.
But he basically said how they went through a revolution in which people were raping their neighbors, killing babies, eating babies, doing heinous crimes in order to revolt, in order to create this change. You want to know what ended up happening? Huh?
In order to create change?
Yeah, essentially. It's crazy.
That's what all the soldiers be doing these days.
Right, it's crazy. But you want to know what else happened? Is that in the end, by the end of it, they all still had to live with each other at the end of the day. It's not like you get consequences.
Hello.
You don't have to pay consequences. So I think this is a long-winded way of saying, when it comes to ethical consumerism, I do agree. Yes, it's important to acknowledge the nuance of access. It's important to acknowledge the nuance of economic status, and it's important to acknowledge the nuance of what is feasible for a lot of people and what isn't feasible for a lot of people. But it's also important to acknowledge the reality. And the reality is that if people want real freaking change, they're going to have to get real freaking uncomfortable. And if I'm going to be
Very.
honest, I don't think most Americans want to be uncomfortable. They like
Which
say,
is fine.
which is fine.
But like,
no one's gonna
say
beat
that.
you.
Exactly.
Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. When a lot of people complain about a lot of the issues that America has, I'm like, well, this is still America. Like, my people in Haiti are suffering every single day, day and out. I'm like, my family is worried. My mom is worried about her family back in Haiti all of the time. And
they talk about Nigeria is about to become a failed state. Oh gosh.
But honestly, I'm not gonna lie, and not to get too off topic, but it really, really does offend me the way that Americans talk about America sometimes, as if you guys have it the worst. And then the minute someone says, well, you're going to have to suffer a little bit, all of a sudden everyone wants to cry wolf. So you either want the change that you want or you don't want the change that you want. Because there are a lot of countries that are suffering at the hands of America right now who don't have the access to ponder whether or not that they can go around and ethically consume.
Iran, for example, freedom.
So maybe we should start thinking about that. If you want real change, then actually start being okay with real sacrifice. But no, we want to sit here and talk about.
And
the
if you don't want to sacrifice, shut up.
Shut up. It's fine.
Like just be quiet. Like stop putting in your 2 cents that is not adding to the conversation because it's genuinely not. Like if you're not gonna help, then just don't help and be.
And that's
it.
Like I'm not gonna lie, I do shop at Target sometimes because Chicago barely has any Walmarts available. But I'm not going to sit here and go around and tell people that everyone isn't
right.
Like I'm not going to go on a high horse and tell everyone how they're bad people, because
exactly.
I understand that it's easy to sometimes go on Amazon. I understand that it's easy to sometimes go here or go there. And I understand that when you have a certain level of life that you are living, most Americans have the blessing and have the option for convenience.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very hard and it is very unrealistic to expect all Americans to just say, hey, you know what? Forget that. We're no longer going to forget our convenience. But you have to be real about it.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, don't be a self-righteous dick about it when you're being real about it as well.
Yes, and on that conversation about different companies like Amazon, Target, and stuff, let's talk about the difference between individual versus systemic versus collective. So individual, obviously everybody's like, what can I do as a single person? Guys, there's a lot you can do as a single person. Like I said, call your representatives, boycott, go start a petition, find ethical consumers, educate your neighbors, start a community garden. I don't know, guys, but you can really try if you really, really want to.
And not to cut you off really quick, but I know that we live in a world nowadays where it feels like we are very, very, very powerless in our efforts. And I think it is valid to feel that way. But the minute you allow them to convince you that you have no individual power is the minute you lose all the power you actually have. Do not allow them to do that. There is a lot of things you can do. And remember that. And there are powers in numbers.
In numbers, the collective, guys. Rally your neighbors. You guys can do stuff together. Like, look how people do all these No Kings protests. I've never personally attended one, but they have how many people will be at the marches? Thousands? Millions?
Yeah.
Millions of people at these marches, guys. There's power in numbers, power in your community. What's the First Amendment? Freedom of assembly. Assemble.
Avengers assemble.
Thank you.
And more importantly, I think it's a disservice to kind of have that kind of mindset, especially given all of the things that our ancestors and all of the things that the Americans before us have done to create the America that we get to enjoy today. All of the fights and the sacrifices they made. You think that the America you live in is so bad? The America they lived in was 10 times worse. And look at the amount of change that they were able to drive. So don't sit here and give the cop out of, oh no, there isn't anything we can do. You're lying. Just say there isn't anything you want to do. Don't say there isn't anything.
And I think honestly too, on this last thing about systemic, I understand the whole, the corporations are bad. Like if they're doing all this stuff, how am I supposed to be better? Stop supporting them. Like it really is as simple as that.
Because we've talked about this a lot in our conversation of AI, which we're not going to talk about this episode, but we're going to talk about eventually in the future. I really, really do not like how Gen Z decides that they want to opt out of things instead of being the drivers of change. Right now, we are at the hands of people who are the drivers of change. These are the people that are in the places of power. These are the people that get to drive the change that are affecting us every single day. And the more people like us, the more ethical consumers, the more people who want to drive real change, the more people that want to help people, the more people who have big hearts, who are going into these spaces, who are gaining the power necessary to actually make a difference. That is what's going to make a difference. Opting out of just saying, hey, well, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z, so I'm just going to pretend like the problem doesn't exist is not okay. Become a part of the change.
The solution.
And become a part of the solution. Don't just ignore the problem like it isn't there, because it's going to continue to grow. And then 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, when we have kids that are our age and our kids complain that we didn't do anything to help them, unfortunately, they're going to be right. They're going
They
to do
are.
that.
You guys don't want to do anything. You guys want to say that nothing can be done because everything is already too hard. Everything's too hard. Everybody's in place. Everybody's in.
Or you
Guys,
just ignore the problem. And
you
that's
guys
not
are
how it
spending
works.
$10 a month to Jeff Bezos, 20 to HBO, 30 to Spotify, 50 to Netflix, 35 to Hulu, 89 to Disney Plus. Are you serious right now? You're telling me you can't spend $10 on an ethically sourced piece of, I don't know, fucking cabbage or some shit. I don't know. You want to eat all them GMOs and chemicals and stuff. Like, you don't love yourself enough to do that, but you love things enough to pay for them.
Right.
I just don't understand the disconnect. And again, when it comes to corporations, I understand it's harder. But again, if you do nothing but sit down and roll over, of course nothing will change. Why would it change when you keep shopping on Amazon, you keep going to Target, you keep going to McDonald's, you keep going to Starbucks? Like, if you can't stop, why would they?
Right.
You guys are showing them that it's okay and that you are willing to give a price, and it's
Right.
very cheap.
Right. And you know, you mentioned before how like you don't always have to make everything you buy ethically.
Exactly, you don't.
For me, for example, I may shop at Target occasionally, but I don't buy Starbucks, and I rarely ever shop at Amazon. I will go to 7 different in-person stores, whether they're like mom and pop shops or whatever, before I buy something off of Amazon if I genuinely cannot find it.
Amazon is the one org I think I would say I haven't really boycotted. I haven't shopped at Target in like what, 3 years, McDonald's 3 years, Starbucks like 3 years. Starbucks was the hardest one for me.
I never liked Starbucks, thankfully.
My campus had a Starbucks on campus and across from campus.
Jesus.
There was nothing else. There was nowhere else to go.
No Dunkin'?
Dunkin' was 2 miles down the road, baby.
Hey.
2 miles down the road. I was sick. So I became a Starbucks fiend. And when that happened, it was Gaza that really taught me how to boycott. Because I'm not no shade, I didn't boycott anything before that. And then when the BLM thing happened with Target, I was like, you bastards. So like, it's never too ill. Yeah. But again, y'all, like, I shop at Amazon. Like, I drink water out of a plastic bottle. Like, I never said it was perfect.
No one
But you have to try to start somewhere and actually put in a little bit of effort.
And more importantly, and I think the biggest thing to take away from this conversation, especially as we talk about the individual versus systemic versus collective boycotts and just things and everything in between, is that a lot of the issue is that everyone wants to get on their high horse instead of being real.
Yes.
When we first started on the nuances of it. I'm from an underprivileged background, and I'm really sick and tired of people telling us what we can do when you've never experienced it yourself. I notice in these conversations, everyone who is talking about what the underprivileged can and cannot do are people who have never been underprivileged themselves, and it's annoying. I have been underprivileged. Don't tell me what I can and cannot do. And there's a lot that we can do. And this whole idea that we're just powerless, useless people who can't do anything on the planet is the most annoying thing on the planet. Stop it. 1. 2, if there is something you can do and you choose not to do it, you are human, and that is okay. Period. But 3, understand the cost and the consequences of you not doing what you think you need to do and what you know you should do to drive real change. It's that simple.
If you don't want to make the ethical decision, nobody's going to force you to do it. But don't sit here and try to contort it and be like, well, I couldn't do it because da. You couldn't do it, and that's okay.
And you didn't want to.
Nobody's going to beat you up. You didn't want to. You couldn't. Whatever happened, that's fine. But you don't also need to sit here and try to contort the word, the definition, and the phrases to be like, oh, I'm still ethical. You weren't. But like, that's okay because you're human. You're a person. It's all right.
That's it.
All right. Okay, so now let's talk about the impact that this whole era has with the no ethical consumption under. Wait, what did I say? No, there's no ethical. Oh God.
No ethical consumption under capitalism?
Yes, Jenny Patel. A lot of people end up with the phrase that boycotting isn't worth it. And I think a lot of this does stem from, like I was saying, the whole systemic thing and how everybody's like, oh, these big organizations aren't helping and like they're still doing all this stuff. Like, how can I be of service? Like we said, guys, there's so many different ways to be an ethical consumer that doesn't cost you any type of money. Some do, some don't, but the whole point is that you have to get out and try and do the research on your own to see if there's something that you can do.
And you see, with that too, I think I have a little bit of a different take about this because we've had conversations about this before, and I agree and I disagree with the whole. I agree, but I also disagree with the whole there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. I agree because I don't think. Let me rephrase. I agree with the statement that I disagree with the statement that there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. No, there is. I do think that there is. However, However, when I mentioned before about thinking about politics and the world order in real life, in real time, I'm going to be entirely honest with you. I do not know, I'm not going to say anything definitive, but I don't know if our generation in particular has the facilities and the capabilities to do what is necessary to drive the real change necessary to make lasting change.
I think some of us do, but I think also there's a lot of us that are, I don't know if the word is complacent. A lot of people are, like, for example, all the Nepo babies, all the influencers.
But it's
all
not
the...
even just about Nepo babies.
No, but
and
I'm just saying
stuff.
that, like, when you aren't in a place where it's going to negatively, I feel like there's a lot of people in our generation right now that have been put in places where it's just not going to affect them, and when things aren't affecting people, they don't care.
That,
and it's like it's hard to make somebody care about something that's not affecting
but
them.
also I think we've gotten to a point as a society where we have reached a level of uncharted territory.
About what?
Where we are becoming a society of convenience. Everything is so easy for us.
Guys,
everything is so easy for us. You want food, you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own bed. In fact, so much so that people get upset when their DoorDash driver doesn't bring it directly to their door. Right? You want...
I'm sorry, but like they literally said bring it to the door. Why? Where are you bringing it?
Just wait for it. You don't even have to go grocery shopping anymore. Someone can do it for you.
My friend does not go to the grocery store. She always has an Instacart order. I'm like, what the? I literally love grocery shopping. I love going to get my food.
Case in point.
The worst experience I ever had. Oh my gosh, convenience is really killing us. And online shopping.
And here's the thing. Another thing to that point. Amazon, you can get anything you want in the world, and all you have to do is click a button and it'll be right to your door. You don't have to there is no barrier to entry to anything that you have, almost anything that you have to do. And now with the introduction of AI, this is getting worse to the point where you don't need to have a slight barrier to entry for knowledge.
Baby, you don't even need a brain.
You can get anything, whatever you want with the click of a button without an issue.
And now you have a guaranteed yes ma'am for life.
Exactly. We are a society now of convenience, which is such uncharted territory, which is why I feel like it's really, really hard to do anything in our generation in particular, because that would require us to sacrifice convenience. And as a society that is pushing more towards more convenience, not less, I think that most people will not be able to fathom, will not be able to handle, and more importantly, will not want to sacrifice their convenience. And I think that's why ethical consumption is so hard. I think that's why boycotting is so hard. I think that's why everything we do is so hard. And now kind of putting that back into the impact aspect of it, and the idea that boycotting is not worth it. It is absolutely worth it, because we've seen it in real time. You think we are here today because our ancestors and the people who came before us, the other Americans before us, didn't boycott, didn't try, didn't make efforts? Come on.
Montgomery, don't play with them.
I would hope that we've all read some kind of history book at some point in our lives. People have done this before. So to say it's not worth it would just be a flat out
sit-ins. Like, guys, there's so many, like,
and it's inaccurate to history. It's inaccurate to history. Yes, we live in uncharted territories of convenience, but again, you're a liar. You're being a liar.
You're a dirty liar.
You're being a liar.
Okay, so we also have shaming, empathy, and tit for tat boycotting is another impact. Tit for tat boycotting was some of the most egregious stuff I had ever seen, and I
actually don't know what that is.
Let me tell you what happened. So it was, I'm trying to remember specifically when it was. I think it happened like late last year, and honestly, sadly enough, it was between like Palestine, like the Black community here in the U.S. and like the Black diaspora here in the U.S. And it was this whole like, I think people were like boycotting for Gaza, right? And like they were doing like really boldly stuff like that, and everybody, and like there was like a big, not big, but there's like a decent Black community that I saw on TikTok that were talking about the Palestinians weren't like boycotting for us, like they weren't there supporting us. Why would we support them? And I feel like I've seen that a lot with activism lately. It's a whole bunch of, well, they didn't support us, and why should we support them? Which is so crazy, because like you guys don't want to build community, you don't want to build family. Oh my gosh, do you know that quote that's like, I can't remember how it goes, but it's like when it came time to fight for me, nobody was left, or something like that, because it was like they came for the Jews and I was quiet. They came for the black people, I was quiet. They came for the Arabs, I was quiet. They came for this people, I was quiet. And by the time they came for me, there was nobody left to fight for me. Everybody's always so concerned about their own struggles that I get being concerned with your own struggles, but I just don't get where that stems from, being like, oh, they didn't support me, I wouldn't support them. And
I can tell you where that stems from.
Like this on a global scale.
I can tell you where that stems from, at least in
uselessness.
The
I don't know. Oh.
No, I can tell you where it stems from in the Black community. I think it's because the Black community is tired of constantly being the ones to only fight for themselves and having to justify for their mere existence.
Which I think is very real, but to say that while an active genocide is going on, I think is just crazy,
here's the thing
regardless
about
of
that.
history.
Here's the thing about that. I get the sentiment, but I'm going to be entirely honest with you. Black people, out of every group of people, and I'm talking about modern day Black people. I'm not talking
like
about
out of the diaspora, out of like every racial group.
Black Americans.
Okay.
Because this is, we're in America. This is the conversation we're talking about. We're talking about Americans. I'm not going to talk about other groups of people when this conversation doesn't apply to them. Black Americans in today's age, and I'm not just talking about Black Americans, I'm talking about Americans who are Black that live in the United States, whether you are from America or not. I'm talking about Black Americans in its entirety, whether you are a Haitian American, African American,
so the Black U.S. diaspora.
Thank you. Are probably one of the most lazy groups of people I have ever witnessed in my entire life, and I'm talking about modern day Black people. And I say this because they are too busy wanting to be heard by a group of people that have never had the interest of hearing them ever. That they sit here waiting for power to be given to them instead of going in and taking it. And it pisses me off to such an extent that I hate having this conversation. Because it's all about, when none of you guys show up for us, show up for yourself.
There is so much negative energy within the Black diaspora that it just... And my mind is like, how can they have so much room for so much other hate?
I don't even want to, like,
how can we?
I don't even want to get too deep into this.
Right, another episode, y'all, don't worry.
But I will end this with this. Black people are the most hypocritical people on the planet because we rave about how much power we have, yet we never use any of it to drive real change. We say that we want everyone to show up for us because we're never shown up for, when in reality, if we were as powerful as we think we were, then we would never need anyone to show up for us. We would just show up for ourselves. And it's too far often where Black people will play the role of the victim and will sit here complacent rather than just standing up and be like, no, some people need our help. Oh, we don't want to be the bigger person. First of all, no one freaking cares. There's no such thing as being a bigger person in a world where people are suffering and where people are dying. I'm sorry, give it up. You can't win, because I know where you've been, such a saying you didn't put up a fight.
Oh, Lord, you should said you can't win, brother.
Victorious. But no, in all seriousness, it's enough. So the whole tit for tat thing, the whole tit for tat boycotting, the whole shaming, the whole empathy, there is a genocide happening in real time, in real life,
and not just in Palestine, guys. There's so many genocides happening everywhere. Like, look at Congo,
Sudan.
Look at Sudan. Like, come on, let's be so serious.
You want to know Sudan? We're not even going to talk about Yemen. What has happened in Yemen is so bad, and it's been happening for so long that at this point, there's not enough screen time in the world that can really fully encompass what has been happening to that country for the last 3 freaking decades.
But also, I do have to give grace to... I think I'm really starting to understand that whole we were never supposed to connect this much as a world. Because genuinely, why would somebody from Connecticut in the U.S. know that, like, a genocide is happening in Palestine and it's happening in Congo and it's
you know what's
Sudan,
so weird?
Somalia, and it's happening here in the U.S. It's happening.
You know what's so weird about these kinds of things?
And it's like, well, damn, like, you have to, and it's the same thing as when you are like on a plane and it crashes and they're like, just put the life vest on yourself first before you put it on whoever you're with.
Which is absolutely true. But I'm sorry to say this, and this is a very hot take that a lot of Americans don't like. Americans probably need the life vest the least. In fact, arguably, people need the life vest because of us.
Oh, yes, 100%. Oh, we are a problem.
And everyone's
the problem,
like, oh,
if
but we're
anything.
dealing with so many things in America. You live in a first world country where you have access to DoorDash, where you have access to Amazon, where you don't have to think about
Nigeria
anything.
to this day still does not have constant electricity.
You want to talk about Cuba? You want to talk about Cuba right now? What
corruption?
Listen, I get that Trump is not that funny and not that fuzzy, but God forbid you stop putting yourself in the center of all the world's problems and realize that we are causing most of the world's problems. And maybe if we drove real change here, then our other countries wouldn't have to suffer at the consequence of us. But we are too busy worrying about our conveniences that we can't even think about that.
On the flip side, we actually did do well with the Target boycott of 2025. You remember what happened?
We did
good. Black community, baby. I'm gonna clap it up for y'all. Y'all did that big one. We did. Because I think they had lost like billions of dollars. I'm pretty sure I'm mistaken from that boycott.
Starbucks too. The initial boycott did really well.
It's so funny when you compare, but I think also this is also what a lot of people are comparing. Like, how everybody was so willing to boycott for the Black cause, which of course as you should, but like people were not willing to boycott for Gaza.
I think that's because most people actually don't support Gaza in the United States, but that's a conversation for another day.
Wow.
That's a conversation.
Wow. But y'all, at the end of the day, what we should be doing with all this boycotting stuff is bringing to light ethical brands. So I want to keep that in mind. You guys make sure to do your research on that. And while you do that, let's talk about how to become a more ethical consumer. We did touch on some of these points already. The first one is if you can't stop, reduce at least. If you're spending $100 at Target every week on, I don't know, candy. First of all, you heard that Hershey's chocolate is not even real chocolate anymore. They're actually just robbing us all. Fake chocolate. Did you hear about that? She ain't even know. She don't even know. Yes. So if you can't stop, at least reduce, guys. Stop spending $100. Stop spending $50, then $20, then $10, then $5, then eventually you'll get to $0, and you'll find an actual ethical brand that you can consume.
And you know what else too? Read labels.
Please.
Research brands. You know what?
Look at the whole B Corporation, ethically sourced, fair trade organization.
Google is free.
And
at the end of the day, if you really must
use
AI, you might as well use it for a good cause. Research brands, research this, figure out, hey, what are products, what are materials that are better suited for the environment? I guarantee you AI can tell you that. Hey, what polyester, how is that created? Oh, thank you. Polyester, how is that created? Is it ethically sourced? How about this? How about that? If you really must. If it's really
not, because you're actually putting plastic on your body.
Right. So my thing is too, like, if you are so freaking lazy to the point where you don't even want to research the brand, have AI do it for you. If it's really that freaking deep. At the bright side, use the technology for some damn good in the world. Which I know is a hot take, but I'm just saying, because we're talking about convenience and all that stuff in between, and it's like, if you really feel so inconvenienced by doing a little bit of research, have the AI do it for you and call it. I use it for everything else as a therapist and this and this and this.
Hello.
Might as well use it for
text
something.
Your friends back, all this mess, y'all, please.
Can't even send a text if it's that hard.
Hello.
I wonder how hard it is to ethically consume.
Clock it. When it comes to clothing, guys, let's start. I think clothing is probably one of the hardest things to ethically produce or ethically consume. Fast fashion goes dumb. It's cheap. It's cute. They're replicating designer stuff. It's attainable, whatever. But guys, think about the babies in the factories. Think about the babies in factories. They suffering, okay? They trying their hardest. I understand. The worst part is that good quality clothes do cost more, but guys, you will be holding on to these clothes probably for life. My dad, all his suits are quite expensive, and he's had them for 20 plus years.
I will say, and this is not, I don't think this is I don't know much about this brand, but I shop a lot at Zara and H&M, and I don't think H&M is all that. Maybe they are.
Those are both fast fashion brands.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I personally, when it comes to, and I know this, some people are creatives and you dress how you want to dress, but I don't go shopping a lot. In fact, this I've had for maybe 3 years, and these pants I got recently, and this is the first piece of clothing that I bought in over maybe a year and a half. I do not go shopping a lot, and the reason for that is because I buy good things once or twice, and I keep them for a very long time. And I know Zara and H&M aren't the best in the world, but a lot of their pieces, like, I've had for an extremely long time. I wear the same clothes. Leave me alone.
That's what I'm saying. Like, literally, leave me alone.
Wash your dryer.
Leave me alone. And guys, I know also that it does get hard. I know, like, Goodwill and places like all these thrift stores are upselling their stuff, which is crazy because they're getting them for free, even though they're bastards. It's okay. Let them be bastards in peace. What we just started doing is going back to doing yard sales, community swaps, thrift swaps amongst our friends. Okay, guys, Depop is cute.
Yeah.
I don't really get Etsy. I'm sorry, it's too much. Do they people sell clothes on Etsy?
I think so.
Okay, Etsy. There's a whole bunch of different. Y'all need to do some research.
I will say too, when it comes to thrifting, if you don't have to thrift, don't.
Why? I've actually never been thrifting, no lie.
Because as someone who grew up poor, Goodwill and things like that were some of the places that my family and I could only buy clothes, and now they've price.
Yes, so, all the people who have money shop. Oh, is that what you mean?
That's what I mean.
Yes, oh my gosh, yes, all the people who have all this money shopping at Goodwill, like, you're going to hell.
I remember, like, one of my family members, like, we used to get made fun of because we got a lot of our clothes.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. Like, I grew up shopping at Goodwill
See,
and
my
shopping
dad
at
makes
these
us
things.
donate all of our clothes to Salvation Army. It's like y'all
But
not
yeah, like
profiting off of nothing.
I
Go
think
to hell.
I think thrifting is great, but I think you guys unknowingly, of course, that's just how capitalism works. But like, you guys have really priced out a group
They
of people that
have,
really could have
yes.
used the clothes. And as someone who grew up in poverty, Goodwill was the place that I
People
could
who are
go.
homeless should be able to go to Goodwill after like being on the street, no shade, for like a day,
Yeah,
and
I
be able
used
to
to be
get
able
a
to.
pair of pants and a shirt or something.
Yeah, I used to be able to get jeans for like
Yes.
$5-10 and stuff. Now they're $40 for it. So I should just
It's
go to
like the
Zara.
same price as a store.
I think-
Amazon is cheaper than Goodwill.
And when we talk about ethical consumerism as well, the idea is you like we talked about earlier how it's so hard for some people to get access. It is true,
Mhm.
but when you are doing your endeavors, and I know everyone loves thrifting and stuff, but the whole conversation around thrifting does offend me a lot because like thrifting wasn't fun. Thrifting, buying secondhand clothing was not cool.
I think also it's become a bigger thing because people have started like I guess I don't know if it's weird or not, but like just donating all their designer pieces and stuff like that now. So I don't know how thrifting used to be back in the day. Was it mostly just like normal brands, or was it also like, a lot
no,
of
there
designer
was still
stuff?
sometimes designer pieces,
But was it
but
like more common than not to find designer, or no?
I think like
'Cause I feel
before
like
things
people
like the
go-
real, I guess it was
Yeah.
less common to find designer pieces and stuff. But like you could find Levi jeans, like a lot
No,
of
because no, but now people go thrifting and it's like, okay, look at my red bottoms and my like Louis bag and
But
my
here's the
Balenciaga
thing.
coat, and it's like what?
But here's the thing: people have always been donating designer
Yeah.
clothes. The matter is it went from hey, everything needs to be new, you need the newest of the newest, to now it's okay to shop secondhand, and that difference in mindset has caused you guys to not you guys, but for people to essentially price out an entire group of people.
They
where
have. It's
thrifting
ridiculous.
Was meant for people who couldn't afford clothes.
Exactly.
And now those like I don't mean to be rude, but if you can afford Zara,
No,
just
be rude.
just buy Zara.
Yeah.
Like I get
Do
that this
it.
whole thing about ethical consumerism, but like at the same time, if you can afford a more pricier thing that is, you know, well made or whatever, maybe it's not fast fashion, maybe it's a local boutique or whatever, buy that from the local boutique and save the thrift clothes for the people who actually need the clothing.
And if you genuinely like thrift and like that's something that you actually like really want to do, cool. Maybe buy one piece. Maybe don't go in and buy every single thing that you like in the store. Maybe
And also
don't
too,
go buy all the pairs of jeans.
Maybe sell some of your clothes as well. There's always a
Hello?
balance. There's a give and take.
Honestly, I actually don't like when people sell their clothes. I think everybody should just donate their shit.
No, but I mean, like,
I think all
if
my
you
stuff.
like Depop, you sell it on Depop for a couple bucks.
My dad has always just had us donate all of our stuff to the Salvation Army.
That's
so I've
fair.
I've never like gone down that route. I've never thought about it either.
I always donate my clothes for free. I actually
same. I didn't even know people.
I feel like it's too much energy to try not to donate.
I heard that people get like tax refunds off that shit, and I'm like,
no,
just so fucking greedy.
no.
Oh, I gotta watch my B word. Sorry,
Yeah.
y'all triggering me. Y'all
Yeah.
triggering me.
Repurpose your clothing, give it to friends, give it to family. My sister always makes sure to kind of let me see her clothes that she's kind of no longer fits before she, gives them away or whatever.
Like my mom is my thrift store.
Exactly. And
this is my brother's jacket.
And also too, kind of like what we touched on before, support your local businesses. Man.
Yeah.
They're most likely gonna I know in Connecticut there's so many of them.
So
many of them around. And like you get to create rapport, you get to kind of get to know the people of your neighborhood and get to kind of learn about the journey and their businesses as well. So shop locally if you can. I know once I finally do come into money, I have full intention of shopping only locally for my foods and
locally, ethically.
Once I know like I have the funds to do so, I will
garden
do it.
Real shit, no lie.
Yeah, and even now I actually do that sometimes as well. Like I have coworkers at my job who like they have gardens in their homes. They're like, hey, do you want some zucchini and stuff? And we'll just take it there instead of just buying it. Because like if it's there and it's an option, just do it if you can, honestly.
That's where community comes in, guys. When my friend came to visit me and I went to go visit her and her grandma up in the Bronx, her grandma literally was like, she'd gone to the grocery store or like the pantry or whatever, and she was just giving me all this food.
Yeah.
She was just like, just take it. I'm like, no, grandma, this is for you. She was like, no, take it. And like, y'all, this is what community does for you. Like when you have a good community, people who care about you, people who want to help you, and even if you don't need help, like they're gonna be there to give a giving hand.
Absolutely. And I know more about community than most people. I mean, a lot of the times I got fed wasn't from home. It was from like my school or like people I know, my friends,
parents, stuff like that. Yeah.
Like they would feed and bring me food sometimes. Like I remember my close friend back when I was a kid, like I would eat at her house all of the time, and at least I knew every time I went there I'd have like a good meal. So I think community is very important, and I think it's through trying to ethically consume and just doing things more ethically in general, it kind of brings you closer to the people around you rather than closer to the corporations that are using you.
Exactly. That y'all claim to hate so much, but you want to support.
So
I'm saying.
it requires more effort, but I also think that the outcome and the benefit is just far greater.
Mhm.
So, and finally, kind of lastly, like she said multiple times, write letters, talk to your politicians. Your voices do matter, and the more voices that speak out, the more impact happens after that. So,
hello.
yeah.
Fuck that. And now some takeaways from today's episode. Like we said, start where you can, but you actually have to start, whether that be doing the research on ethical consumption, stores in your area, politicians around you, community members to start aggregating, whatever it may be. Just take that first step, and I promise it'll start flowing right after that.
Yeah. And it's also, like we said before, empathy over judgment. Listen, I'm a very judgmental person sometimes, but my judgment will never override my empathy. And I think it's important in a world full of self-righteous little dickheads like yourselves, where everyone thinks that they're better than thou. I think it's important to take a second to realize you're not better than thou. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. We're not better than anybody except for maybe Ted Bundy and Donald Trump. But I digress. At the end of the day, lead with empathy and understand that it is through empathy that we help more people, not through judgment. Because the more you judge people, the more you disincentivize them to actually make a change.
Remember, community over consumption. Like I was saying, you need a cup of sugar before you go to Target, Walmart, Stop and Shop. Go knock on your neighbor's door. Hi, buddy, can I have a cup of sugar? You just save money. You made a new connection. You talk to your neighbor. Look how much you've done already. Maybe you have a friend now. Do you understand? Oh, I want to go to the grocery store. Go knock on your neighbor's door. Be like, oh, does anybody need anything? Does anybody want to go with me? You guys, there are so many different ways that we can build community, be together, latch together, and just become a stronger unit, which we can in turn use to fight against all these corporations who want nothing to do with us but rob us of our money.
And I'm not going to lie, I don't know if you've seen our pilot episode, but if you had as much audacity as I did when I met Ejene, when I asked her, I met her to get me some chocolates, maybe the world would be a better place.
Clock that tea. I did say no, but still, we're friends, aren't we? Hey!
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
And finally, slow and steady, because it won't happen all at once. This is something that I personally struggle with. I think we've been so indoctrinated, especially in the early 2010s, of like movies and series where it's just some big thing that happens and all of a sudden it's a new world. Think of like the Hunger Games, right? Katniss Everdeen saves the day and it's a new world and a new world order. That is not how it works in real life. It's small incremental changes that one day you wake up and you realize that you are living in a different world than you were a couple of years ago. I mean, imagine 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, I remember I got my first iPod. I didn't even imagine what the heck like DoorDash was. Amazon wasn't a thing.
It's so crazy thinking about us as kids. Like, we really did have the little iPod Nanos and a little,
I even remember the CD discs.
Yes!
The huge CD discs you would rock around. You'd have to put them in a bag and you switch the CDs. Imagine that. That's how we started.
Spotify.
Right. Wow. That's how we started a couple years, 20 years ago. No, not even. Less than that. 12 years ago.
Like, hello.
Right. I remember we had Pandora was the first before we had
Spotify. Pandora was low-key goated when it first came out.
No, it definitely was. It definitely was. So just think about that a little bit. Thinking about all the changes and all the ways that the world has changed in the last 5 years, honestly. And you'll see that there are so many little things that you didn't compartmentalize as they were happening. But now you're looking at it in hindsight and you're realizing that there's so much change has happened thus far. Slow and steady will win the race every single time. And it's important to realize that small incremental change results in huge reform. And that's the episode. Don't be a lazy. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a judgmental little dick. And hopefully, I'm going to edit all this out. Hopefully, in more empathy, in more understanding, and in more community, we drive real change so that our kids, I ain't having them, but y'all kids, will live a better life than we did.
Yes, and to get you guys started and to help you guys out, we have a couple of resources for you guys to use and look up at the end of this video. So first, we have the Sonder Sessions website. We actually have an ethical alternative section that has 4 tiers, which is plastic free, industry leaders, responsible alternatives, and entry points. The different categories that the site takes over is personal care and beauty, period care, health and wellness, food and beverage, kids and baby, fashion and apparel, home and living, lifestyle and gifts, and electronics and technology. So the site is all encompassing. It has a whole bunch of different websites and different brands that you guys can see, branch out, discover, research, and see if they fit with you. There are different prices in different categories. Mm-hmm. We also have goodsuniteus.com. I actually use this website. It's to see the political affiliations of certain corporations and whatnot. Like I remember, bro, it was terrible. Stop and Shop and ShopRite. What Stop and Shop used to be blue, and ShopRite used to be red. Now they're both red leaning. Nasty work. But I have to go to the grocery store. But I can look that stuff up to be well informed about who I'm supporting. And then we have ethicalconsumer.org, which is where you can explore ethical ratings of over 40,000 brands and products, and they've been open since 1989. And lastly, we have thegoodshoppingguide.com, and you can use their ethical rating tables to compare, and they also research environmental track records, animal welfare, and human rights issues since 2001. So you guys can't say we didn't give you a couple starting points, a couple good talking points, a couple good things to ponder.
And they'll all be in the bio as well.
Yes.
Under the captions, all the links to all the websites. So, like I said, have empathy for yourself. More importantly, you're not infallible and you're not perfect.
Exactly.
Neither are your neighbors, neither are your friends, neither are your family.
Perfection is the absence of humanity, baby.
There you go. And I'd like to consider myself pretty human. So
Clacky.
That'll be today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed having this little conversation with us about ethical consumerism. I hope this kind of lit a fire under your arse.
To do better,
to
be
do
better.
Live better. Walmart. Maybe not Walmart. Maybe something more ethical like Lowe's.
Damn, I used to love Home Depot too. That's so shady.
Yeah, but think about it. Remember, give yourself grace, give your other people grace, and stop thrifting.
Yeah. Bye.